The massive holographic display in the Galactic Council's primary chamber flickered with urgency. Zixvar, the blue-skinned diplomat from the Centaurian Alliance, leaned forward in his gravity-adjusted seat, his four eyes widening in confusion. The real-time communication feed from Earth, usually bustling with thousands of signals, had begun to fade. "Something isn't right," he muttered to his assistant, a crystalline being who shifted colors with each thought pattern. "Run the diagnostic again." The standard broadcasts from Earth, radio signals, television feeds, internet traffic, and military communications were disappearing one by one. It wasn't like the random static of technical difficulties. This was methodical, almost purposeful. In the lunar observation post, Alice Martinez stood at her workstation, her dark hair tied back in a neat bun, as she monitored the last remaining communications from Earth. The facility, built into the crater Tycho, served as humanity's primary link to their alien allies. Her fingers moved swiftly across the holographic interface, documenting each signal as it went dark. "Control, we're losing another frequency band," she reported, her voice steady despite the growing tension. "Asia sector has gone completely silent." The room around her buzzed with controlled chaos as other operators tracked the spreading silence. Screens displayed the progressive shutdown of Earth's communication networks, region by region, like lights going out in a massive city. Back in the council chamber, Zixvar called an emergency session. Representatives from 27 spacefaring civilizations gathered, their various forms filling the chamber with a rainbow of colors and shapes. The central display showed Earth, once bright with electronic chatter, growing darker by the hour. "We have maintained peaceful contact with Earth for 15 years, Zixvar addressed the assembly. In that time, they have proven themselves to be reliable allies, if somewhat unpredictable. This silence is unprecedented." A reptilian counselor raised a scaled hand. "Could this be a technical malfunction in our monitoring systems?" "We've checked multiple times," Zixvar replied. "The silence is coming from Earth itself. Even their deep space colonies are going quiet." On the Moon, Alice received the last transmission from Earth's Central Command. The message was brief, encrypted at the highest level. Her hands trembled slightly as she decoded it. The words that appeared on her screen made her blood run cold, but she kept her composure. The Galactic Council decided to send an investigation fleet. 5 ships, representing different member species, prepared for immediate departure. As they plotted their course to Earth, more stations went dark. The lunar base remained as one of the last points of contact. Alice watched through the base's dome as the alien ships appeared in lunar orbit, their designs varying from sleek crystalline structures to biological mechanical hybrids. She knew what would happen next, what had to happen. "Lunar Base Tycho to Investigation Fleet," she transmitted. "Welcome to Earth space. We will be going dark in approximately 10 minutes. Please do not attempt to prevent the shutdown." The alien commanders tried to ask questions, but Alice followed her protocols. One by one, she shut down the communication arrays. The last screen showed Earth, now completely silent in terms of electronic emissions. Before turning off her final system, she sent one last message. "We know they're coming. Don't follow us." Then the lunar base, humanity's last connection to the galaxy, went silent. Zixvar received the news with growing concern. In 15 years of contact, humans had shown themselves to be resourceful, clever, and sometimes worryingly advanced in their military thinking. This silence wasn't defeat, it felt like preparation. "Begin full monitoring of Earth space," he ordered. "I want to know the moment anything changes." But Earth remained quiet. Cities still showed lights from orbit. Satellites maintained their positions, yet no signals escaped the planet's atmosphere. It was as if humanity had decided to hold its breath, waiting for something. The question that haunted the Galactic Council was simple. What could be so terrifying that it would make an entire civilization choose to go silent? As the investigation ships maintained their vigil, that question remained unanswered. and the silence grew deeper with each passing moment. 3 weeks before the silence, Peter Ward sat in his observatory office at midnight, staring at his computer screen in disbelief. The data from the Deep Space Telescope array showed something impossible: a massive void moving through space, consuming all signals in its path. He ran the calculations again, his hands shaking as he typed. The coffee beside him had gone cold hours ago, forgotten in the gravity of his discovery. The void wasn't natural. It moved with purpose, changing direction in ways that defied natural space phenomena. In Washington, D.C., Military Commander Laura Blake received the encrypted data package from Peter's observatory. She stood by her office window, watching the early morning traffic below as her tablet displayed the findings. Her face remained calm, but her grip on the device tightened. "Get me the Joint Chiefs," she ordered her aide, "and contact our allies in Europe and Asia. Priority level, Omega." Within hours, the world's top military and scientific leaders gathered in a secure underground facility. Peter presented his findings, his voice steady despite his exhaustion. "It's not just one void," he explained, pointing to the projection. "There are 3 of them, moving in formation. They're absorbing all forms of electromagnetic radiation, light, radio waves, everything. And they're heading toward our sector of space." Laura stepped forward. "How long do we have?" "At their current speed, 2 months, maybe less." The room erupted in worried discussions. Leaders argued about public announcements, evacuation plans, and military responses. Laura raised her hand for silence. "We can't fight what we can't see," she said, "and we can't let them know we've spotted them. Whatever these things are, they're advanced enough to hide from the rest of the galaxy. That's why none of our alien allies have warned us." In the following days, the world's governments began the largest secret operation in human history. They called it Project Blackout. Workers began massive underground construction projects, disguised as subway expansions and mining operations. Peter continued monitoring the voids, working with a small team of trusted scientists. Each new observation confirmed their worst fears. These were hunting patterns. The voids were searching for something, methodically sweeping through space. "They're looking for signs of civilization," he told Laura during a late-night briefing. "Radio signals, light pollution, anything that shows intelligent life." Laura nodded, looking at the latest satellite images of the underground construction. "Then we'll give them nothing to find." The plan was unprecedented. Humanity would need to disappear, not just physically but electronically. Every broadcast, every signal, every electronic signature would need to go dark. But they couldn't let their alien allies know why. If any of them knew, they might react in ways that would give away Earth's awareness. Cities began their secret preparations. Underground bunkers expanded into vast complexes. Essential systems were modified to operate without detectable emissions. The population would need to vanish within hours when the final order came. 2 weeks before the silence, Laura met with the world's leaders one last time. The bunkers were ready. The shutdown protocols were in place. Now they just needed the perfect moment to disappear. "If we go dark too early, we risk panic among our alien allies," she explained. "Too late, and those things might detect our preparations." Peter's team calculated the optimal time window. They would need to coordinate the shutdown of every electronic device on Earth and in their space colonies within a 48-hour period. It would be like closing a door silently while a predator walked past. 1 week before silence, the code words were distributed. Citizens memorized their evacuation routes. Underground cities hummed with quiet activity, preparing to receive millions of people. The final piece came from an unexpected source. A young engineer suggested using the moon's natural interference patterns to mask the last stages of their preparation. They would make the shutdown look like a cascading technical failure. As the countdown began, Laura stood in the new underground command center. Screens showed the approaching voids, now close enough to make nearby stars flicker. "Send the last message to the council," she ordered. Make it sound worried but not panicked. Let them think we've seen something, but not what we've seen. The message was sent, and humanity held its breath, preparing for the greatest disappearing act in history. The alien investigation fleet arrived in Earth orbit 3 days after the final silence. 5 ships, each representing a different galactic species, spread out to begin their search. The crystalline archaeologist Crithane stood on the observation deck of the lead vessel, his transparent form reflecting the pale blue planet below. "Scan complete," announced the ship's eye. "All major population centers appear intact, no signs of destruction or mass exodus. Cities are still drawing power, but there are minimal electronic emissions." Crithane adjusted his sensory crystals, focusing on the sprawling metropolis of New York below. The city gleamed in the sunlight, its buildings unchanged, but something was different. The usual chaos of human activity seemed muted, organized, almost too perfect. Hidden deep within an abandoned office building, Kevin Phillips watched through specially designed cameras as alien shuttles descended into the city streets. As Earth's designated observer, his job was to monitor the investigation teams and report their findings to the Underground Command. The aliens moved through the empty streets with visible confusion. They found cars parked neatly, offices with computers still humming but locked, and homes that looked recently occupied. Everything was in place, but the humans were gone. "Most peculiar," Crithane muttered, examining a coffee shop. The cups were still warm, the pastry display fully stocked. "It's as if they all stepped away at once, planning to return any moment." Kevin shifted his position carefully, making sure to stay within the building's signal-dampening field. He watched as Crithane's team discovered the first subtle clues, slight variations in the concrete of certain sidewalks, unusual patterns in the city's power consumption, and strange echoes in their ground-penetrating scans. The alien teams spread across the globe, finding the same pattern everywhere. Paris, Tokyo, Sydney, each city appeared perfectly preserved but empty. Schools still had lessons written on boards, hospitals had patient records up to date, and airports had planes parked in perfect rows. Crithane's analysis grew more concerned with each discovery. "The humans knew something was coming," he reported to the council. "This wasn't a panic or an evacuation. This was planned, coordinated on a global scale." In his hidden observation post, Kevin carefully documented the aliens' growing unease. He watched as they discovered more signs of humanity's preparation, subtle reinforcements in building foundations, minor modifications to power grids, and carefully disguised ventilation systems. The investigation teams began to focus on these anomalies. They found that certain buildings had been imperceptibly altered, their basements extended in ways that didn't match any plans. Underground sensors detected vast empty spaces where none should exist. "They built something down there," Crithane concluded, addressing an emergency council session via hologram. "Something massive, hidden beneath every major city. But why? What could make an entire species go to ground?" Kevin transmitted encrypted updates to the Underground Command Center, where millions of humans waited in vast subterranean cities. The aliens were finding the outer signs of their preparation, but the true scale of humanity's underground world remained hidden. The search continued for days. Alien ships scanned every continent, finding more questions than answers. They discovered that humans had modified their satellites to maintain normal appearance while masking what happened below. Power plants still operated, but their energy went somewhere undetectable. Crithane's final report to the council painted a disturbing picture. "The humans didn't just disappear," he explained. "They built themselves a new world beneath the old one. They saw something coming that scared them enough to hide their entire civilization." In his observation post, Kevin allowed himself a small smile. The aliens had found exactly what humanity wanted them to find. Enough to worry them, but not enough to reveal the full truth. As he watched Crithane's team return to their ship, he sent one last update to command. "They know we're hiding, but they don't know what we're hiding from. Phase 3 complete." The aliens continued their search, unaware that beneath their feet, humanity was watching, waiting, and preparing for something that terrified them more than abandoning the surface of their world. From his monitoring station, deep within Bunker Network 7, Daniel Wright watched the alien search teams discover another entrance shaft. The aliens' ground-penetrating scanners had finally detected one of the smaller access tunnels, hidden beneath what used to be a subway station in Chicago. "They're getting closer," he reported through the secure quantum channel. Crithane's team just found the outer seal of Access Point 23. The underground city stretched for miles in every direction, a marvel of engineering and human determination. Thousands of people moved through the well-lit corridors, going about their daily lives as if living underground was perfectly normal. Hydroponic gardens provided fresh food, recycled air flowed through massive purifiers, and children attended schools in converted cargo bays. Above ground, the alien investigation had entered its second week. Their scanning equipment became more sophisticated as they realized the scale of what they were dealing with. They found traces of massive excavation, carefully hidden behind fake construction projects and modified city plans. Crithane stood in the newly discovered tunnel, his crystalline form glowing softly in the darkness. "These tunnels," he spoke into his recorder, "they're not just shelters. They're built to last for years, maybe decades." The humans weren't running from a disaster. They were preparing for a long-term absence. Daniel switched between different camera feeds, watching alien teams across the globe slowly uncover more evidence. In London, they found a vast underground warehouse. In Beijing, they discovered a geothermal power plant, hidden 2 miles below the surface. Each discovery pointed to an enormous underground civilization. "The scale of this is incredible," Crithane told his fellow investigators. "They must have been planning this for years. But why? What could they have seen that we missed?" In the command center of the underground city, Daniel met with other resistance monitors. Maps showed the aliens' progress, marking each discovery with growing concern. They were getting dangerously close to some of the main population centers. "We need to activate the secondary shields," suggested one of the monitors. "They're almost at the defense perimeter." Daniel nodded, entering the commands that would increase the density of the signal-blocking barriers. The humans had developed this technology in secret, creating materials that could hide entire cities from the most advanced alien scanning equipment. Above ground, Crithane's team found something new. A partially decoded message in one of the abandoned military bases. The text was incomplete, but what they could read was disturbing. "They hunt by finding civilizations that reach a certain level of technological advancement. We can't let them see us." The alien investigators began to understand. Humanity hadn't just hidden. They had deliberately regressed their visible technology, making Earth appear less advanced than it actually was. The surface world was a carefully constructed facade, hiding something far more sophisticated beneath. Daniel watched through the cameras as Crithane presented his findings to the Galactic Council. The alien's crystalline form flickered with concern as he spoke. "The humans knew about a threat we haven't detected. They've turned their entire planet into a hiding place, and they did it without any of us noticing until it was complete." In the underground city, life continued. People adapted to their new world. Children played in artificial parks, and scientists worked in hidden laboratories. They had brought everything they needed below ground, creating a civilization that could survive unseen. "They're starting to understand," Daniel reported to his superiors, "but they still don't know about the void ships. Should we proceed with Phase 4? The answer came quickly. "Not yet. Let them wonder a little longer. We need them scared enough to prepare, but not so scared they'll give us away." Above ground, Crithane stood in the empty streets of Chicago, looking down at a manhole cover that his instruments said concealed an entrance to a vast underground complex. He knew humans were down there, watching, waiting, hiding from something that terrified them enough to abandon the surface world. The question that haunted him was simple: what were they hiding from? And why hadn't the Galactic Council seen it coming? In the depths of space, the void ships moved with deadly precision. 3 massive objects, each absorbing all forms of energy and light, approached the solar system. They had hunted countless civilizations before, drawn to the electronic signatures of advancing species like moths to flame. On the bridge of the lead void ship, the hunters observed their target system. Their forms, barely visible even to each other, shifted in confusion. The electronic signatures that had drawn them here had vanished. Meanwhile, in Earth's underground command center, Michelle Carter studied the latest deep space readings. The massive screens showed the void ship's approach, their presence marked only by the absence of stars behind them. "They're slowing down," she announced to the gathered military leaders. They've noticed the silence. The underground city buzzed with controlled tension. Years of preparation had led to this moment. In hidden chambers across the planet, powerful weapons waited. Not the primitive rockets and lasers the surface world had displayed, but technologies developed in secret. Crethane and his investigation team received an urgent message from their home worlds. Strange anomalies were appearing in nearby systems, stars going dark, signals disappearing. The Galactic Council finally understood what humanity had been running from. "They're ancient," Michelle explained to her staff, pointing to historical data. "They've been hunting advanced civilizations for millions of years. When a species reaches a certain level of technology, becomes visible enough in space, they come." The void ships entered the outer solar system. They passed Neptune without slowing, their massive forms consuming all radiation around them. Humanity watched through specially designed sensors, instruments that operated without emitting detectable energy. Deep underground, Michelle walked through the weapon control center. Each station was staffed by trained operators, their equipment designed to activate only at the last possible moment. They had one chance to surprise the hunters, and timing would be everything. Previous civilizations fought them directly, she told her commanders. They tried to resist with shields and weapons, but you can't fight something that absorbs all energy. So we chose a different approach. The hunters reached Jupiter's orbit. Their scans found the same thing the alien investigators had discovered: a seemingly abandoned yet functioning civilization. Cities still stood, power plants still operated, but no species-level technology was visible. Crethane, watching from his ship near Mars, finally understood the full scale of humanity's plan. They made themselves invisible, he transmitted to the Council. Not just hidden, they removed themselves from the technological spectrum the hunters used to find prey. In her command center, Michelle received word that the void ships had passed Mars. They were approaching Earth, their massive forms now visible even to the naked eye as dark spots against the stars. "All sectors report ready," her assistant announced. "Underground cities secured. Surface facilities on standby." The hunters began their final approach to Earth. Their scans showed a planet with minimal technological development, some basic electronics, simple satellites, nothing that would mark humanity as advanced enough to be worthy prey. "They expect resistance," Michelle told her staff. "They expect shields, weapons, desperate attempts to fight back. Instead, they'll find nothing. And that's exactly what we want." Crethane's ship retreated to a safe distance as the void ships entered Earth orbit. The alien archaeologist watched in amazement as humanity's plan became clear. They hadn't just hidden. They had made themselves appear to have regressed, to have fallen below the hunter's threshold of interest. In bunkers around the world, humanity waited. Children played quietly in underground parks, adults went about their daily routines, and soldiers stood ready at their posts. Years of preparation had taught them patience. Michelle stood before the main display, watching the void ships position themselves around Earth. "Now we wait," she said quietly. "Let them come closer. Let them think they found another primitive world, not worth their time." The hunters began their standard search pattern, unaware that beneath the surface of this seemingly unremarkable planet, an entire civilization watched their every move, waiting for the perfect moment to spring their trap. In the lowest level of Bunker Complex 3, Joseph Harris stood before the assembled members of the Galactic Council's emergency session. The holographic projectors showed the alien representatives watching from their ships, safely distant from the void hunters above. "We didn't run," he explained, his voice steady. "We didn't evacuate. Earth's population is here, all 10 billion of us, living in the largest underground civilization ever built." The council members murmured in amazement as Joseph displayed the true scale of humanity's hidden world. Vast cities stretched beneath every continent, connected by high-speed transit tunnels. Fusion reactors powered everything, their emissions perfectly masked by revolutionary shielding technology. "The shield technology," Joseph continued, activating a demonstration unit. "It doesn't block energy. It redirects it, makes it flow around us like water around a stone. The hunters can't detect what they can't touch." In another sector of the underground network, engineers activated the massive production facilities. Machines that had been silent for weeks hummed to life, protected by layers of energy-absorbing materials. They were building weapons, but not the kind the hunters had faced before. "We studied their hunting patterns," Joseph told the council. "They expect civilizations to fight back with energy weapons, lasers, plasma, antimatter. But we designed something different." The production lines rolled out devices that looked deceptively simple. Each one contained technology that had been developed in secret, tested in hidden facilities beneath the ocean floors. The aliens watched in fascination as humans assembled their defense system. "These devices create dead zones," Joseph explained. "Areas where energy simply ceases to flow. The hunters feed on energy. We're going to starve them." Above ground, the void ships continued their search, finding nothing but a seemingly primitive civilization. Their scans passed through cities filled with basic electronics, never detecting the vast network of advanced technology hidden beneath carefully designed interference patterns. Deep in the command bunker, operators monitored the hunters' movements. Each void ship was tracked by sensors that operated on principles the hunters had never encountered, using the very absence of energy as a detection method. Joseph revealed the final part of humanity's plan to the council. "We're not just hiding," he said, bringing up detailed schematics. "We've built a trap. The entire planet is one giant snare, designed to catch something that thinks it's the ultimate predator." The underground cities continued their normal routines. Schools taught children about their new world. Hospitals operated with advanced equipment that remained invisible to surface scans, and scientists refined their weapons in shielded laboratories. "We needed complete silence," Joseph explained to the amazed council members. "Total coordination. Every human on Earth had to disappear at exactly the right moment, leaving behind a facade of primitive technology as bait." The alien representatives began to understand the full scope of human ingenuity. They had expected to find refugees hiding from a superior force. Instead, they found an entire species that had transformed itself into an invisible army waiting to strike. "Your civilizations can help," Joseph offered. "We've prepared duplicate shield generators. When we spring our trap, the hunters will need new hunting grounds. We can protect you, make you disappear just like we did." In the production facilities, the last weapons were moving into position. Carefully shielded transport systems carried them to deployment points around the globe. Everything was timed, coordinated, planned down to the last detail. Joseph concluded his presentation with a warning. "When we strike, it must be perfect. One mistake, one detectable energy signature at the wrong moment, and the hunters will know. We've spent years preparing for this single moment." The council voted unanimously to support Earth's plan. As the alien representatives returned to their ships, Joseph walked through the underground city. Children played in artificial parks, scientists worked in hidden labs, and soldiers prepared for the coming battle. Everything was ready. Humanity's hidden army waited in their underground fortress, preparing to reveal themselves not as prey, but as hunters of the hunters. The void ships settled into Earth's orbit, their massive forms blocking out the stars. They had found nothing of interest, Just another developing world, barely worth noting. Their sensors detected primitive electronics, basic satellite systems, nothing that marked humanity as advanced prey. Commander Linda Ross stood in the central command bunker, watching the final moments of humanity's great deception. Around her, operators monitored screens showing the hunters' positions. Everything was perfectly aligned. "All sectors report ready," her communications officer whispered. "Dead zone generators at full power. Shield grid stable." Linda nodded, her expression calm despite the weight of the moment. "Send the signal. All units, execute Operation Starfall." Across the planet, deep beneath the seemingly primitive surface, millions of hidden devices activated simultaneously. The dead zone generators powered up, their effects rippling through space in carefully calculated patterns. The hunters noticed something was wrong immediately. Energy patterns they had relied on for millions of years began to disappear. The void ships, dependent on absorbed energy, found themselves trapped in expanding zones of nothingness. "Now," Linda commanded, "bring up the shield grid." The ground split open across Earth's surface. Massive panels rose from hidden bunkers, their surfaces gleaming with technology far beyond what the hunters had expected. The shield grid activated, not to protect Earth, but to contain the hunters. In the void ships, the ancient hunters experienced something new: fear. Their scans, previously showing a primitive world, now revealed a planet bristling with advanced technology. The dead zones expanded, cutting off their energy supply. "Second phase," Linda ordered. "Deploy the null spheres." From underground silos, thousands of small devices launched into orbit. Each one generated its own dead zone, surrounding the void ships in a web of energy-vacant space. The hunters tried to flee, but found themselves trapped in a three-dimensional maze of nothingness. In the Galactic Council's emergency session, alien representatives watched in awe as humanity revealed their true technological level. The primitive facade fell away, showing a civilization far more advanced than anyone had suspected. "Target Alpha is immobilized," reported the tactical officer. "Beta and Gamma attempting to break formation." Linda smiled slightly. "Activate the gravity anchors." Hidden stations around Earth powered up, creating localized gravity wells that further trapped the void ships. The hunters, for the first time in their ancient existence, were caught in someone else's trap. "We studied you," Linda transmitted to the void ships. "For years, we watched how you hunt. You detect civilizations by their energy emissions, then consume them. But you never considered that someone might learn to fight without energy." The hunters attempted to communicate, sending signals that had terrified countless civilizations before. But humanity had prepared for this too. The signals bounced harmlessly off the dead zones, reaching no one. In underground cities across the planet, humans emerged from their hidden bunkers. The surface world came alive with advanced technology that had been concealed for months. Ships rose from underground hangars, their designs unlike anything the galaxy had seen. "Final phase," Linda commanded. "Containment protocol active." The null spheres closed in, compressing the dead zones around each void ship. The hunters, ancient terrors of the galaxy, found themselves trapped in bubbles of absolute nothingness, unable to feed, unable to move. The Galactic Council received humanity's message with stunned silence. Earth had not only survived the hunters, they had captured them. The void ships, now contained in permanent dead zones, would never hunt again. Linda walked through the command center, watching as reports came in from around the world. The trap had worked perfectly. Humanity could return to the surface, no longer hiding their true capabilities. "Send word to our alien allies," she ordered. "The shield technology is theirs if they want it. The hunters will never threaten another civilization." As Earth's cities came back to life, Linda looked at the screens showing the trapped void ships. Humanity had done more than survive. They had evolved, adapted, and overcome the galaxy's greatest predators. The Great Silence was over. Earth had proved itself not just as survivors, but as protectors of the galaxy. And in doing so, they had changed the balance of power forever.